The maple tree on the corner of Elm Street was the first to confess. Its leaves blushed a furious, brilliant scarlet, a stark and beautiful contrast to the clear, hard blue of the September sky. For Leo, watching from his bedroom window, it was not a spectacle of beauty, but a starting pistol. The autumn of their senior year had begun, and with it, the final, frantic countdown. His life was a carefully balanced equation of college applications, SAT prep books, and varsity soccer practice. The future was a distant, looming city on a hill, and every minute was a step towards it. His friends were the same. Chloe, the aspiring neuroscientist, spoke only in terms of acceptance rates and weighted GPAs. Mateo, the future engineer, had already mapped out his college visits down to the minute. They were a triumvirate of ambition, their laughter sometimes sounding a little too sharp, a little too strained. Then, Anya moved in next door. She arrived not in a moving truck, but on a rusty, old bicycle, a guitar case slung across her back. She wore a patchwork skirt and a smile that seemed to find the whole situation, the manicured lawns, the silent, pressurized air of the neighborhood, genuinely amusing. Her family was artists, someone said. They'd rented the Henderson house for the year. Leo first saw her through the fence as she unrolled a blanket in her backyard and simply lay down, staring at the sky. He was on his way to a tutoring session, his schedule a tyrannical scroll in his mind. He watched her for a full minute, a strange, tight feeling in his chest. She wasn't doing anything. It was a revolutionary act. Their first real meeting was at the town's forgotten apple orchard, a place everyone passed but no one visited. Leo had gone there to study, seeking silence. He found Anya sitting in the gnarled branches of the oldest tree, sketching in a leather-bound journal. "You're the one with the schedule," she said, not looking up from her drawing. "What?" "I see you through the fence. You walk like you're being timed." She glanced down, her eyes the color of the autumn sky just before dusk. "It's Leo, right? I'm Anya." He felt oddly exposed. "I have goals." "Goals are good," she said, hopping down with a soft thud. "But have you ever tried just listening to this?" She held a hand out to the orchard. The only sound was the rustle of dry leaves and the distant cry of a crow. She was an alien species. She didn't talk about colleges. She talked about the way the light hit the old train trestle in the afternoon, or the secret history behind the faded mural on the post office wall. She dragged him to a midnight showing of a silent film in the park, her laughter ringing out in the dark. She played her guitar on the porch, songs she wrote herself about wandering and lost keys and the particular sadness of shopping malls after closing. With Anya, Leo's meticulously constructed world began to fray at the edges. He started skipping his extra study sessions to walk with her along the river. He was late to soccer practice because they were building a precarious fort out of fallen branches. He found himself noticing the way the frost etched delicate patterns on his window pane in the morning, a sight he'd rushed past for years. His friends were baffled. "What do you even do with her?" Chloe asked, her tone a mix of concern and judgment. "We talk, we walk. We don't really do anything," Leo admitted. Mateo shook his head. "Dude, that's a luxury you can't afford right now. It's senior year. This is when it counts." And a part of Leo agreed. The pressure was a constant hum in the background, but another part, a part that had been sleeping, was now wide awake. Anya showed him a map of a world he'd forgotten existed, a world not of destinations, but of journeys. A world where the most important thing wasn't the grade, but the moment. Their autumn was a whirlwind of stolen, insignificant moments that felt more significant than any A+. It was sharing a thermos of bitter hot chocolate on a cold bench. It was her teaching him 3 clumsy chords on her guitar. It was lying on their backs in the middle of the football field after dark, nomming constellations they didn't know. It was also a season of quiet conflict. Leo's parents noticed his slipping focus. His guidance counselor called him in for a chat about his uncharacteristic drop in a practice test score. The future, which had once been a clear, straight road, was now a foggy crossroads. The climax came on the night of the Halloween dance, an event Leo's schedule had blocked out months in advance. He was in his suit, ready to go, when he saw Anya through the window. She was sitting on her porch steps, carving a pumpkin, her face serene in the flickering candlelight from within. She wasn't going to the dance. She hadn't even mentioned it. He stood there for a long time, the stiff collar of his shirt scratching his neck. He could hear the distant thump of bass from the school gym. He looked at Anya, her hands covered in pumpkin guts, utterly content in her small, illuminated world. He took off the tie. When he walked onto her porch, she looked up, surprised. No dance. This seemed more important, he said, sitting beside her. She smiled, a real, slow-blooming smile that reached her eyes. She didn't say anything. She just handed him a knife and pointed to a spot on the pumpkin. They finished the lopsided jack-o'-lantern together, their shoulders touching, the silence between them more comfortable than any conversation he'd had all year. He knew then that it couldn't last. The autumn of their youth was as transient as the leaves. Acceptance letters would arrive. Snow would fall. The world would demand they choose a path. On the last day before winter break, they stood by the old apple orchard. The trees were skeletal against a gray sky. Anya's family was moving on to another town, another rental house. "You were the most beautiful distraction I've ever had," Leo said, his voice thick. Anya reached up and brushed a tear from his cheek with her thumb. "It wasn't a distraction, Leo. It was the main event." She gave him her journal. "So you don't forget how to see," she whispered. Then she got on her bicycle and rode away, becoming smaller and smaller until she was just a speck on the road. And then, nothing. Leo stood there for a long time. The air was cold, the world bare. He opened the journal. The first page was a sketch of him from that first day in the orchard. He wasn't studying. He was just looking up, a faint, unguarded smile on his face, a version of himself he had almost forgotten. The autumn of their youth was over. The frantic race toward the future resumed. But Leo was different. He carried the season inside him now, a golden, fleeting warmth against the coming cold. He had learned that some of the most important parts of life aren't achievements to be listed, but moments to be lived. A collection of scarlet leaves, the taste of a stolen apple, the sound of a guitar on a quiet porch, and the bittersweet, necessary pain of letting something beautiful go, just as it was meant to end.